All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, everyone? We're back for a Wednesday edition of the NBA show. Got our guy Marquis in here. Go collect. So you got, I think, one or two lineups in the 222 tonight, so good luck there. Gregory Lynch, Marcus D, William, exclusive, Ricky, got a guy Butter, made a run in the $5 last night. Shout out to you. Bob Oso, Taurine, and Mr. Mike's daddy. Matt, I'll bring you in. How's your Wednesday going? How's your week been so far?
Wednesday's going good, man. Finally, at least I was going to say warmed up. It hasn't warmed up. It's still like 0 degrees here, but the sun's out, so daughter is back in school today. Things are looking up. Wednesday's going good, man. We got a full slate to talk about, as we kind of chatted a little bit before about, but always happy to be here talking some hoops with you. How's your week going?
Yeah, week's going good. Thanks for asking. I agree with you there. I like these slates a little bit better. I was kind of tilting a little bit last night about the winning lineup in the $5. It wasn't the perfect lineup, but it was a 7-way chop in a $72,000 or a 72,000 person tournament. Just I haven't seen anything like that all season long, especially in that big of a tournament. So that was a little disheartening. I know that we had a few people in our Discord that were making a run at the top. Like I said, Butter was up there, and then our guy Coach Sav was up there in the top 50, I believe. So definitely a tough run out for people playing that tournament. And then I think we also had somebody ship the mini max. Got really not lucky, but very fortunate that he won, because I believe the second place lineup was one person that ran a 40 lineup train, and he beat him out by maybe a point or a little bit less than a point. So really, really good run out there. So shout out to, I believe his name was JMSN or JSMN in our Discord. So shout out to him. But yeah, we got a lot to talk through, so won't really spend too much time on all the intro stuff. We'll jump right into the first game, actually, because we do have 9 games with a lot of injury news. Try to get in and out of here in an hour. We got LeBron James making his return to Cleveland to face your Cleveland Cavaliers. I'll kick it off to you right away. We have close spread, Cleveland favored, which is somewhat surprising to me. Lakers are playing okay basketball right now. Cleveland's playing really well, but no Darius Garland, no Evan Mobley. What are they going to do to fill up those minutes tonight? We've obviously seen a massive role from Donovan Mitchell. Has been really putting it together, but the Mobley news is really big for the Cavs moving forward.
Yeah, the Mobley news is big. Hopefully, it's just a short-term injury. Got to be really careful with those calf strains. He'd missed a couple weeks earlier, like about a month ago. Came back gradually, and obviously is now missing time again. Never good to see. From a DFS perspective, it's going to make everyone on Cleveland look that much more desirable, because outside of Donovan Mitchell, he's been like the second best offensive player for Cleveland. They've clearly asked him, wanted him to do a lot more this season, and he's been good as of late. So I think that you're going to kind of see a cumulative effort in terms of the minutes from guys off the bench. But as far as the production goes, hard not to like Donovan Mitchell right now at 9,700. Was already in really good form. Again, multiple, I think 55 plus in at least 3 straight games. I'd have to go back and check. It's fantasy points, and his price is now $200 less than it was last slate. He's getting ownership, but hard to argue it. Looks really, really good here. This game should be pretty high scoring and competitive, so there's just a lot to like about him in this spot. Then you look at Jarrett Allen, who's probably the first guy you think of that's going to benefit with Mobley out. And yeah, it just is likely that he sees a bump in his rebounding equity, maybe a little bit more minutes at the true 5. So at 6,300, it's scary. I really don't like playing him these days, but Jarrett Allen looks good. He's getting owned. So I think you can make cases to fade him, because this slate is massive and you don't want to go too heavy on this first game, but he's not priced for Mobley to be out. So there's a lot to like about Allen and Mitchell. I think those are the first 2 guys. Then you start to get to like the Dean Wades, who had already started to play more with Hunter being out the past 2 games. He was chalky a couple games ago at 3,600. Now 4,200, projected for over 30 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I never love him, especially at chalk. So I'm probably looking to get away from that. But I understand why people are going there. The guy I want to get to is Jalen Tyson. Price is down a little bit at 6,600. I'm not sure the production matches the price tag from like a projection level standpoint, but I do think he's got upside, especially with Mobley out. I think you could just see him play a ton with the ball in his hands. And if anything gets a little bit wonky as far as Mitchell goes, like I think Tyson's the next guy up as far as offensive production goes. So there's going to be a lot to like on Cleveland. I don't want to get too heavy with it. I think Naquan Tomlin is a guy you could potentially look at for cheap. Is there anyone on Cleveland that you like have to roster here?
I don't know if I would say that. I think that the pricing is pretty fair. I would say that Jarrett Allen feels like the most mispriced guy when you consider his permanent production, just the usage role increase with Evan Mobley and Garland off. So I think I'll probably end up getting the most of him. It's also a pretty good matchup for him. DeAndre Ayton's been playing so poorly on defense lately. I think that there's even a chance the Lakers run more small ball out there, which would be good for Jarrett Allen from a rebounding standpoint and just scoring around the basket. I think he'll get a lot more front court touches and paint touches tonight. So I feel like he is my favorite option, but I'm with you on Donovan Mitchell. It feels like he still hasn't, like he put up 45 points last game. That was a pretty, obviously a really, really strong outing, but it still feels like there's room for even more upside for him. His role has just been insane over the last 6 games with Darius Garland missing, and then you take off Evan Mobley as well. The usage is way up, touch time is way up, potential assists are way up. So I think there's even a shot, like I don't know if a triple-double is within the range of outcomes, but I do think that a 30 to 40 point double-double could be something that he flirts with tonight. So I definitely agree with you. I think Donovan Mitchell is really, really strong. But I'm with you on Naquan Tomlin. He was kind of the guy that stood out to me. I feel like just the role that you have to replace Evan Mobley with, he is the kind of the guy that pops in my mind. Not really a really big offensive threat, but just a super high energy guy. He's also been playing a lot more lately. I really like watching him play. How do you like Tomlin as a Cavs fan?
Love him, man. Like he's been giving the Cavs everything they've been missing so far, kind of that energy hustle guy. We've talked about the Cavs a bunch. They've been very disappointing for much of the season, finally starting to turn it around. But before this little stretch where they've turned it around, a lot of their problems have come from malaise, energy, low energy, and Tomlin's been the opposite. So he's been really, really fun to watch for the Cavs on a two-way. I think you're going to see him as a big part of this rotation with Mobley out.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many tweets and videos of him coming across my timeline over the past 2 weeks where he's just sprinting down the court, like running like a gazelle. He's fun to watch for sure.
And he's like new to basketball, like very new to basketball. I can't remember like when he started, but it wasn't until late high school. So he's still learning a lot. It might not have been until after high school, I want to say. So very raw still.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all these guys are going to get a bump. So I see people asking about Craig Porter. Obviously, he's another guy that's going to get a bump. All these guys, it's a trickle-down effect. You just kind of have to make the decision how much you want early is my take on the bench guys. What about you?
Yeah, same. Same. Like, I just think guys like Craig Porter, unless he's happening to start at 4,400, I'm just not sure how good guys like that are going to look. The guards, I think the big men are going to look better just because they're shorthanded there. I know that Garland's out, but they've been missing Garland. I get the case for basically anyone on the Cavs bench because they are shallow and we don't know what they're going to do. But someone like Tomlin, at least on paper, looks better to me than someone like Porter.
Yeah, at least from a minute standpoint. You're also getting Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter back. They've been missing a lot of the games. So they're getting those guys back, which is just going to loosen up the rotation a little bit. So for me, I feel like there's a big teardrop down from Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen in terms of guys that I'm going to be prioritizing. It's going to be Naquan Tomlin, and then probably I would put Jalen Tyson in that group, and then everybody else kind of below that. As for the Lakers, okay, cool. As for the Lakers, you got LeBron making his return to Cleveland, where it all started, obviously. 9,100, no Evan Mobley. Should still be guarded by a pretty solid defender. Dean Wade is going to be on him. I feel like he matches up pretty well. I'm not sure that I want to pay 9,100 for LeBron with Luka kind of close enough to where he can match him from a point per ceiling standpoint. So I kind of lean Luka here, but the matchup is not great for either of them. Jalen Tyson's been playing really good defense. Obviously, it's Luka. He's matchup proof, but I do slightly lean Luka over LeBron, and then don't think I really want to mess with the rest of the guys. The price is really good for Ayton if you think that he's going to be able to turn it around here, but Rui's playing really well, and I think that they're more than willing to go more small ball. So it's kind of Luka and LeBron and a max one of those two guys, and then probably just a max two of the Lakers overall. How are you prioritizing those guys?
Yeah, the Lakers don't really look good here from like a projection standpoint, point per dollar standpoint. I'm with you. It's Luka over Bron here. If you want to give the boost to Bron for going back to Cleveland, I get it, but I think you're just paying full freight for him right now at 9,100. So could he get there? Sure. Is he a priority for me? No. And honestly, the same with Luka. 12-2 on this slate is expensive. Now we could potentially get enough value where you're able to fit him with ease, but as of right now, I think there's better roster constructions. So, again, I like to break it down. If I were playing one lineup here, I don't think I'd get to anything from the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'm at too. All right, we'll jump over to the next game. Chicago, Indy. Really high total, close spread here. So a lot to like here from a game environment standpoint. Does get a little messy when you add in Josh Giddey getting healthier for Cleveland or for Chicago. They will be without Trey Jones for a little bit. But not really too big of a name there. So I think that there is an outside shot for Giddey to get back to the starting lineup. He said that he felt really good after last game, played 28 minutes, which was where they had him capped at. I would guess that if he started tonight, they probably feel good about him playing around 30 minutes. So that would make him interesting at 7,800. But then it just kind of confuses the rest of the guys for me. Like I don't really know where else I'd like to go. I love the matchup for Vooch. I think Kobe White would be in a pretty good spot, but with Giddey getting healthier, how does that affect his usage? As of right now, I kind of don't see this game as one I'm really needing to get to, but the game environment itself, I could see there being a lot of points here. So what are you thinking about this Indy and Bulls game?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like from a 30,000-foot view, this game looks really appealing, but then when you start to look closer, price tags are where they should be, and then you get like the Giddey back to playing more full minutes for the Bulls, and that really muddies up the situation there. The two guys that I like from this game, I think from the Chicago, like all their normal guys are in play still, but I think with Giddey back to potentially playing full minutes, it does hurt them. I like what I've seen from Kobe White at 7K. I think he's just a tournament play, but there's certainly upside there. My favorite play from this game, though, is Jarris Walker. He's questionable here, so, obviously I like him if he's in, but playing really good ball right now and cheap at 5,200, filling either the forward position. So you can roster him at a bunch of spots. Like I like Jarris Walker here as my favorite player from this game, presuming he's in. Otherwise, like I'm with you, I should say. I don't think there's much you have to get to from this game, despite like how appealing it does look, just because there's other games that also look really appealing here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Would love if Siakam was a little bit cheaper because I think this is a good spot for him. He's done really well against Chicago this season, and just the ways that he gets the basket and scores, I think could really shine here. But I'm with you. I feel like Jarris Walker is the only guy that you're really prioritizing. I think I would have interest in Giddey if I knew that he was starting and playing if he was like 30 minutes, and he'd be really, really interesting because he's been playing well off the bench. It's just it's tough to get into a rhythm when you have those short of stints.
I see he is projected to get a little bit of ownership, which I get. I mean, it does seem like this slate is pretty spread out. So there isn't like the chalk we had last night, at least. Now it's a bigger slate, so that makes sense. Like at ownership, I'm more inclined to get off of Giddey just because, again, it's not like he's going to play full minutes here. Even if he does, like if he plays 30, he looks really appealing at 7,800, but there's still outs for him not to get there. Like I see both sides of it at that price point. He would be the guy from Chicago that you'd want to get to, especially if we got some sort of like, we got their coach saying that he was going to play more. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. I believe they have a back-to-back tonight as well, or tomorrow is a back-to-back. And I think they have another back-to-back over the weekend. So some of the beat writers were saying they'll see how both Kobe and Giddey respond to these back-to-backs to kind of determine how much they're going to play. Also, would keep an eye on the starting lineup for Indy. I feel like in a matchup with Vooch, a guy like Jay Huff, who's been pretty much out of the rotation, could come back to life here. So definitely keep an eye on that. He's only 4K power forward center eligible. He would definitely be a guy that would be in play for value if he does get a random start here. All right, Orlando at Miami. Orlando really struggling as of late. Lost 4 in a row. Obviously, not having Franz Wagner has really hurt them all around, offensively and defensively. One of the worst teams over the last 2 weeks or so. They've been a team that's really been given up to lead handlers all season long, but their three-point defense has actually been getting a lot worse as they've had to kind of shift their defensive game plan. Miami coming in much better form, but also pretty thin tonight. No Tyler Hero, and then Davion Mitchell was downgraded to doubtful. Khalil Ware is questionable, but it sounded like he was at practice yesterday, so good chance that he's back. And then Norman Powell got an upgrade to probable. There was a couple of games earlier this season, I believe, against these two teams that were pretty solid for fantasy purposes. I think there's a lot going on here that you could definitely get into. You have studs spin up for Bam and Paulo, and then you have some mid-tier guys in the Bane, Black Powell range, and then some value as well on the Miami side. So I think there's a lot to talk through here. How are you looking at this game? Feels like one you could definitely get into.
Yeah, it does. You mentioned how they played a couple games that were really good from a fantasy perspective. And now that you mentioned that, I believe they played on the first game of the season where everyone was just like, this is not a game you want at all. And it ended up being like by far the best game from a DFS perspective. So kind of shows you the unknowns coming into the season. But I'm with you. Like there are kind of good plays in every range here. I think the best plays are probably like the mid-range guys. You touched on them in passing, like Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black. Both those guys look to be in play for sure at their price points. You flip to the other side, someone like a Jaime Jaquez, Norm Powell down to 7K. I'll say this. I think there's a lot to like from this game. Nothing that I love. Is there anything that you absolutely love here?
Honestly, Bam is kind of sticking out to me here. I feel like this is a pretty good spot for him, just with the way that the Magic are playing on defense, where they've been giving up more around the basket. I think I would need Ware to be out to really love him, because I think that the high-end minutes for Bam could be there if Ware does miss. I think he's averaging like 36 minutes per game against the Magic this season, and he's been flashing ceiling as of late, a couple 50-point performances. I feel like he's the guy that is kind of sticking out to me. But then we also need to talk about the point guard situation for the Heat, because it is a pretty good spot for whoever starts. It's been Kasparas. I don't know if you can try to pronounce his last name. I think it's Jakachonis. He's been starting, but it's kind of been Drew Smith running away with the bigger role and the more minutes. So I would probably be playing more into Drew Smith if playing one of the two. They're not really overlapping at all, so you definitely should be max one of those two guys. It also feels like a spot where Drew Smith is just matches up better. I think that you kind of replace Davion's defense with Drew Smith's. A team like the Magic that has a lot of guards that you really require somebody like Drew Smith to play defense against. So I'm leaning him, but definitely keep the light on for Kasparas. I think that he does have pretty solid permanent upside as a guy that can fill the stat sheet up a little bit. So if he gets hot, maybe they run with him a little bit more. And then Hawk has played a ton of minutes last game. I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward, but it's nice to see that he does have that within the range of outcomes, because he's always been a really, really solid producer. But on the Magic side, nothing really stands out. Like you're calling Suggs, wasn't really considering him, but he is getting healthier, so probably closer to 30 minutes tonight at 6.3K, good matchup for guards. And I think Paulo should definitely be in consideration as a spend up. They're going to ask him to rebound a lot more, so you've seen the double-double bonus he got to last game. And they just need wins. So I could see him playing a ton right now. Close game, close spread, and a pretty solid total. So I definitely think this game, there's ways to get into it from like creatively. I think you could definitely get into it.
That's a good call on Paolo. Like they need a W right now. So I mean, they're not going to play him 48 minutes here, but like you could see him playing a little bit more, and he's coming off a really, really good game against Cleveland. So I like that call. I feel like between Drew and Kasparas, the answer is easily Drew, with especially him being cheaper, regardless of who starts. But the field sees it the exact same way. So I think you're going to see Drew Smith significantly higher owned. I don't think you're going to see him as like uber chalk today. So I really get the rationale for both of them. I'm more likely to play Drew Smith, but I'm like with you. Don't forget about Kaspers either.
Yeah, you definitely don't. I wouldn't say Drew is a great value play by any means, just because this team is. I mean, outside of Davion and Hero, they are fairly healthy, getting Norm and Khalil Ware back for this one. So I don't think you need to be running and playing Drew Smith if you don't want to. I think there's other values on tonight's slate or just different ways to play the slate. All right, Atlanta at Boston. Atlanta been playing much better defense as of late, but still think that they have some issues that have been kind of masked. I don't really look at them as a great defense. They're 16th over the last 2 weeks. Rebounding and rim defense has been improving this month, but they're still bottom 3 in rim defense on the season. Shouldn't matter too much here. Celtics continue to be a team that's going to be launching a ton of threes, but they're also the allowing the most catch and shoot threes per game this season. So the way you want to attack them is with perimeter scorers. Atlanta definitely has some guys that stand out here. But the one thing I think we need to talk about right off the top, Hebrewcheetah is out tonight. Luka Garza did get upgraded to in. But I'm seeing around some places around the industry that Amari Williams is projected to get the start here. That's very interesting at 3.7K and I think a pretty decent matchup for him. So I definitely have interest there. But kind of talk about this a lot. It goes back to like the Drummond Bona stuff. The guy that's coming off the bench is also going to get a lot less ownership. So that'll be an interesting leverage spot. But yeah, how would you be reacting to the news if Amari Williams does get ruled as the starter?
Yeah, I still will play Garza personally. Like not like if I were playing 150, I'd obviously have exposure to both. But I should say this: I like the Garza play more than the Williams play off the bench at projected lower ownership because Garza is undoubtedly the better fantasy points per minute guy. I think that his ownership would be lower and a lot lower than it would be if he were starting. And like, there's still tons of ways this plays out where Garza plays more than Williams. If Garza is just better when he's on the floor, Williams could start, Garza could close. Like neither of them could close. I like Garza more just because he's the better fantasy producer, but I understand why people would want to play a $3,700 starting center against Atlanta. So I think they'd both be in play for sure. I would like the Garza play more for the reasons you mentioned. He's also $500 more. Like he will be less owned than Williams. And I just think he's the much better fantasy performer. Do you see it differently?
No. Yeah, he definitely looks like at least the we have more historical data of him being the guy that has been a better fantasy producer. Amari's played in, I don't know, a handful of games
That's
in the
fair.
NBA. So we don't really know there. I'd have to see what ownership looks like because I do agree with you there. If it's like 50 to 10 Williams over Garza, then I think that you just have to take that ownership discount because Garza's going to play for sure. But I did see somebody in our Discord earlier ask if it was smart to play both and just kind of get all the center minutes. I don't think that would be the case tonight. Joe Mazzulla is not a guy that does what you expect him to do. Like I wouldn't be surprised to see him dust off. I don't even know if Josh Minot is still with the team, but like he was a guy that was starting at center for them earlier this season. But they could easily go to Jordan Walsh as the small ball center. I mean, they might even go like Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Sharman, just move guys up a little bit. Like there's ways that they can get creative, and I wouldn't expect all 48 of the center minutes to be covered by the centers tonight. Matt thinks that Williams is better than Garza. Definitely more talented for sure. I mean, he's younger and has some crazy G League stats. I think a lot of these guys that bounce back and forth are going to have really good G League stats. Same thing in college. So yeah, I definitely have interest in Williams. I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say this about Garza as far as Williams goes. Like Garza's college offensive stats are amazing. Like the reason Garza can't play in the NBA really is because he's like slow-footed on defense. But offensively, like he was one of the most talented center prospects like to literally ever play. So like him being a DFS, like a guy that can put up points per minute is never a worry for me. If Garza's going to play, like he's going to be productive. At least that's how I see it.
How do you think that he matches up with the Okongwu and Jalen Johnson front court?
I don't. I mean, he's going to get cooked, which is why like it's scary to play him, especially at ownership. But like maybe he's just really, really good offensively. maybe they can hide him a little bit, like, because they are missing their starting center here. So, yeah, I think that Williams is the better matchup, certainly defensively, but Garza's going to give them a lot more on the offensive end. So, I really get playing both of them. I'm also with you. I would not play both of them together because of everything you said. I'd be surprised if they combined for, to eat all the center minutes. And even if they did, I wouldn't be surprised if like one of them played 32 and the other played 16, depending on who's playing well.
Yeah. I think at the end of the night, when it comes down to it, it'll probably end up being maybe like a 20 to 22 split, and then some other guys mixing in for some small ball is what I'm expecting, which is plenty. Like 22 from either one, I think, is enough to hit value if you really run into a hot shooting game from Garza, or just Amari Williams gets the rebounds and stocks, things like that. As far as the rest of the guys go in this game, on the Boston side, I have a little bit more interest in the guards, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, than I do Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown cooked the Hawks earlier this season, went for 41, 6 and 2 in just 30 minutes. But Dyson Daniels wasn't in for that game. Dyson's going to be on him tonight. I think they're going to throw a bunch of attention his way. So it kind of leans into more of like the Derek White, Pritchard stuff. The Hawks have been getting killed by guards lately. They're dead last against point guards in DVP. And then over the last 7 games, they're bottom 7 against shooting guards. So I think that it's a pretty solid spot for Pritchard and Derek White tonight. And then on the Hawks side, we didn't really touch on them, but if you want to lead things off there, nobody really projecting great, but I think that there is upside for some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. No one here is going to get ownership. No one here is going to project great from a points per dollar perspective, but Jalen Johnson always going to have really high upside, back down to 10K. Cheapest he's been in like 3 weeks. So there's some meat on the bone there. Like, he's not cheap, but he's the cheapest he's been in 3 weeks. And, he's been more inconsistent since the McCollum trade, but his upside hasn't gone anywhere. So he's interesting to me at 10K here. Okongwu, a little bit intriguing. Dyson Daniels, they're pretty healthy though. Not much I like from Atlanta. I think my favorite piece from this game, is I think Derek White. Either Derek White or Jaylen Brown. The two guys from Boston that you normally want. I get your points on Brown, and maybe that's a reason to not play him here when there's a lot of good spend up and mid-tier options. But he's also just been really, really good this year. It seemingly gets there in every matchup. I think for a stud, he's got one of the better floor ceiling combinations on the slate. He just gets there often, even if it's not like Luka type ceiling. I think Brown at this point is just going to be in play on every slate he's on. And what should be a competitive, high scoring game here. I think I like Jaylen Brown a little bit more than you, but I don't think he's a must play or anything.
Yep. With you on the Jalen Johnson stuff too, definitely always in play. But I agree with you about him kind of being a little bit less of a ceiling guy with CJ. I think he's topped 60 DK points just twice since CJ came over. So that's not great to see, but it's nice to see that he still does have that upside. I do think that the matchup is pretty solid for the secondary guys, not really Dyson Daniels because he's more of the guy you want to play when he's facing against a weak rim defense. But Okongwu and NEW and CJ should all get up a ton of threes in this matchup. Okongwu's pretty interesting at 7.5K, playing a lot of minutes. And then it's kind of gross, but I wouldn't be opposed to playing a little bit of Luke Kennard, or at least keeping him in your player pool if you're playing MME tonight, because he's been playing a lot more, even over Corey Kispert, who they just traded for. He's been playing over him and has been shooting the ball really well. Always been a sniper, so definitely a good spot against a 3-point funnel like the Boston Celtics. All right, now we have the Knicks heading into Toronto, back-to-back international travel day for them. They're going to be without a few guys, no Mitchell Robinson, no Deuce McBride tonight, and then questionable tag on Josh Hart. Raptors are fairly healthy for the most part. Obviously, no Jakob Poeltl, but then a questionable tag on Colin Murray-Boyles, who's been out for, I believe, a week or so. Raptors really clicking right now on defense, and the Knicks are coming off of a string of really, really good games, still not playing the best defense, kind of getting lit up against pick-and-roll heavy guys. I think this game is one of the worst on the slates, at least from just a total game environment standpoint, really low total, close spread, which is good. But I think that there are some ways that the Knicks can hit ceiling. I mean, you're taking away 2 big rotation guys. Cat's minutes should be more secure at center, but he'll have a tough matchup against either one of CMB or Scotty Barnes. I think it'll be Scotty Barnes on him. And then Brunson did cook the Raptors earlier this season, but I don't really see anything on the Knicks side that is truly like a standout play. If I had to choose one, it would be Cat at 8.3K because we talk about it all the time. A little too cheap for the upside that we know that he has. Yeah, that's probably it for me on the Knicks. And then the Raptors is kind of gross too. I think it's just Emmanuel quickly, just because he's got a little bit of a revenge spot and he's just been playing really great lately.
Yeah, you stole that one from me. That was going to be my guy from this game quickly here. Like, I think he's priced where he should be, but clearly there's upside. He's gotten there with upside like the past 3 or 4 games. Now you get him in a revenge spot against the team that played last night. I'm interested in him here. Like, he's projected to be like 1 to 2% owned at some places I'm seeing. On a slate like that's really intriguing to me. Like, clearly he's got upside at this price tag. Game should be close. Like, I don't love it from a DFS perspective, but that doesn't mean I think no one's going to get there. So I like the quickly call. And then we pretty much always see Towns eye to eye, and we do here too. I think that in this spot at this price tag, he's too cheap for his upside, but he's also got a low floor. We've seen it a bunch this year. It's not a good matchup. So just know what you're getting yourself into with Towns. I don't think he'll be owned really though. So that makes me even more interested in him in tournaments. So the Towns quickly like run back looks good to me here. I like both those guys. Other than that, nothing I like from this game. I think you kind of said it best. The Knicks just don't really look good here. They are missing a couple rotation guys, but prices are where they should be. They're not in a good spot, and they played last night.
Yeah, it feels like if there was ever a spot for Cat to really hit at low ownership, it would be tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's averaging like 33 minutes per game in games that Mitchell Robinson missed this season, just under 50 DK points. And I get it. The matchup is really bad with how good the Raptors have been playing on defense. But still, I mean, Cat he's much better than he has been playing lately, or at least than the box score has been showing, because last night he was actually pretty good from a per minute standpoint, just didn't see a ton of minutes because the game was kind of out of reach and they didn't really need him. Maybe they knew that Mitch Rob was going to be out for this game. They probably did, and they're just like, let's get him more minutes. But I mean, even in the game against Brooklyn, like he was on his way to a massive game, only played 20 minutes. So I kind of like Cat tonight. I think I'll probably get a good amount of him. And then, yeah, just kind of echoing your sentiment on Emmanuel Quickly, Eastern Conference Player of the Week, been playing great, revenge spot, good pick and roll matchup for him. So I like that call there. All right, Charlotte at Memphis. Charlotte, surprisingly, one of the hottest teams in the NBA over the last couple weeks. They have the best point differential over the last 2 weeks, thanks in large part to a few huge blowouts. They're third in defense, first in offense. Been getting it done with some really hot 3-point shooting, and the rebounding has been spectacular. Musa Diabate, Cochran, all those guys really contributing there. So I think it sets up pretty well for them here, matchup-wise, against a team like Memphis, who's a huge 3-point funnel. All these guys should be well rested too. Only played like 20 to 25 minutes last game in the blowout win over Philly. This is a back-to-back for Charlotte as well, front end of a back-to-back. So LaMelo is going to be managed in one of these 2 games. But these prices are really, really good for all these guys. I have a lot of interest in LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Khan on the Charlotte side. But I'll let you break it down, how you see in the Charlotte side of things.
Yeah, I continue to like Charlotte. Like, Charlotte's in a weird spot right now because, as you said, they're playing really good ball right now. They've been involved in a bunch of blowouts. The games they've lost, they've gotten blown out. So the minutes have been so wonky for these guys. Granted, a couple of the games where these guys have gotten full minutes, they haven't gotten there. Namely, I'm looking at you, Miles Bridges. But, man, 6,300 for Miles Bridges here just stands out like a sore thumb to me. I am biased. I like him a lot. I play him a lot. And outside of like the past, I don't know, week, 10 days, like he would be an auto smash at this price point. Now, he hasn't gotten there even at this tag in a bunch of the recent games, but I think that can be attributed a lot to the blowout and just lack of minutes. So I'm willing to go right back to Bridges here, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple. I like all 3 of those guys a lot. I want to like LaMelo. They've been really, really weird with his minutes, though, on back-to-backs especially, like playing him just weird amounts in both games. We don't know what they're going to do here. So I think he's got upside at 7,600, but there's a real floor there too. He is now getting to the price point though, where the minutes start to become less of a concern. Like he was 8,500, then 8K. Now he's, 7,600, mid 7K range. Like clearly he's got upside at this tag. I mean, we've seen it a ton with him. So I like a lot of Charlotte here. They're pretty clearly, at least so far, my favorite team that we've talked about. I want exposure here. It's hard for me to decipher between like Khan, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges. I like all of them at their respective tags. And then I think LaMelo is the wild card. How do you see it?
Yeah, with you on the LaMelo stuff. If with the price being as low as it is, if he's starting, you got him in there for like 28 minutes. I think that's plenty of time for him to hit ceiling. So I'm with you there. But for me, I do have a kind of a strong lean to Brandon Miller as the number one guy for me. Just a lot working his direction. He's been shooting the ball great as of late. Last 2 games has like a 90% true shooting percentage, but over the last 7 games, he's seen more involvement in the offense, more usage, 70% true shooting percentage, shooting 45% from 3, which is kind of that's a big one for me because I love the matchup for 3-point shooters. There was like a time where he was taking a ton of shots but not making them, but now he's taking a little bit less over the last 3 games, but making a lot more. If you run into a game where he's playing full minutes and taking more and making more, I mean, he's just been more efficient scoring the ball. I think that there's a ton of upside for him. So he's my favorite, but then I think I have Khan slightly behind Miles Bridges. Wish these guys had different eligibility. They're all, I mean, they all this like the right eligibility for sure, but it'd be better if they had like shooting guard, small forward, power forward, things like that. But I do like the spot for Khan here. Just think he's kind of the forgotten man in the offense, but still producing, even not even having that high of a usage rate. The 3-point percentage has come down a little bit, but it is a good spot for him and Brandon Miller.
Yeah, I like all those guys. I think this is a game that I don't love the Memphis side, but I think I like it more than the field also. Like they're coming off a really tough spot against Houston. At least so far, this is the best game that we've talked about from a DFS perspective. I don't mind running it back with like a Cam Spencer at 6,400, a Cedric Howard at 5,800. I think those would be my 2 favorite guys, but namely Spencer. I like playing him when Ja Morant is out. Now, he's not cheap anymore, but I still think he can get there with upside at this price point in a matchup that I think could be relatively high scoring and close. So give me some low-owned Cam Spencer here.
Yeah, I was looking at him too. He's obviously been really good in the games that Ja's missed, and as of late, been playing really well. He doesn't shoot the ball enough, I think. I mean, he has a pretty solid offensive game, just not taking a ton of shots. And he's also ran kind of hot with the potential assists lately. He's averaging 15 potentials per game, converting 12. That's like, you don't really get that type of conversion. So I think that there might be, like, the assist numbers might be a little bit skewed, but I agree. Like, I think that he would be the guy that I prefer, just because I think that he can get there if he does decide to get more shots up on offense. I think Coward too. I'm with you there. Nice to see him get up to 30 minutes. Last game I kind of thought that they had him like a soft limit, but they never really said anything. So it's good to see that he has that in his bag. And then I'm okay with Jock. He's been playing really well. It's not a great matchup for him. The Hornets really good rebounding the ball, been playing really good basketball, defending the rim. So I think that it's kind of a negative spot for him, and he's been shooting it hyper efficient. I don't think that's going to continue. Any thoughts on Jaren, 7.4K?
Yeah, with Landau back, Santi back, I'm good there. Like, I think there's like meat on the bone at that tag, but I think most of the time he's just going to be a play that gives you like 33 fantasy points, and you're not going to really want him.
Yeah, I saw somebody after the Houston game just kind of point out how crazy it was that somebody that's, I don't know, like 11 years older. I don't know how much older KD is to Jaren Jackson, but he played like not double his minutes, but like 8 or 10 more minutes than Jaren Jackson did.
That's sad.
Yeah. Definitely think that he might get traded, but we'll see what happens there. Minnesota at Dallas. Anthony Edwards will be back tonight after getting the night off. Dealing with some sort of foot injury that's kind of been holding him in and out of the lineup, but he'll be back tonight. This is a front end of a back-to-back for Minnesota, I believe, and they play OKC tomorrow. So definitely want to get your guys ready for that one. And then on the Dallas side, semi-big injury news for sure. I mean, Cooper Flagg been playing great in the absence of Anthony Davis. He's questionable, was limited in practice the other day, didn't really do too much. And then Klay Thompson got the downgrade earlier in the day, so I feel like he's probably more than likely going to sit tonight. I think this game has a chance to get a lot better if we get the questionable tags on Dallas, if those guys get ruled out. I already like Anthony Edwards a good bit here. Just think that Dallas doesn't have the defenders that can really stay in front of him. They've been getting killed by guards of his archetype all season long. So I like him, and I like Gobert as my two top options on the Minnesota side. But yeah, break down to me what you're seeing from this game and from Dallas if we do get the Q tags out for them.
Yeah, so from Dallas, I do think, like you said, obviously a big tag there with Cooper Flagg. I kind of lean him not playing. He was doubtful for the game over the weekend. That game got canceled. So questionable here. Kind of lean on him not playing, which would make everyone on Dallas look more desirable. Like as is, guys like Brandon Williams, Max Christie, like those guys look pretty good. Someone like Brandon Williams would look a ton better if Cooper Flagg is out. So obviously, I think this is one of the later games on the slate. I'm not sure how many lock here after, maybe only one or two. So it's news. Hopefully we get earlier rather than later, but just pay attention to it because Flagg being out is going to make all these Dallas guys look more desirable. And as I said, with him in, I think these guys are still in play. My favorite guy from Dallas is Najee Marshall. Kind of reminds me of Quickly here, where he's just on a heater playing really good ball and he's not getting ownership and his tag isn't moving. There's a little bit of sticker shock at 6,900, but man, like I like him a lot here. I heard you call this out yesterday. Appreciated the shout out. Shooting guard, small forward eligible, can roster him at 5 different positions. That gives you a lot of different flexibility. And normally with guys like that, you see their ownership get higher because you can roster them at so many spots. Not happening with Najee Marshall here. So I really like him as a low-owned play. Like, not a cash game guy, but I don't play cash games in tournaments. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate. All the other Dallas guys get a big bump with Cooper Flagg out. Why don't you break down Minnesota?
Yeah, with you for sure on the Najee Marshall stuff. Like some Max Christie as well, shooting great over the last 4 games, 72% true shooting. And then with you, Brandon Williams can only get better, already in play right now. But yeah, for me, I like Ant a ton. I think 9.3K is a really good price tag for him. Mentioned at the top, I just think that it's a really good spot. Just don't see anybody in Dallas that's capable of slowing him down. Got the night off a couple nights ago. The only thing that worries me is the back-to-back, but if Ant is in, he's going to play full minutes. So I don't really think that's too big of a factor. But Rudy Gobert, I think, I don't know if I like him more than Ant, but I like him a lot at 6.4K. I feel like that's too cheap of a price tag for how well and how much he's playing right now. And Dallas is a team that just gets killed on the boards, gets killed around the basket. They will be getting Gafford, getting a little bit healthier, but it's not like Gafford is a great defender or great at limiting center production by any means. Dallas has been one of the worst teams at giving up fantasy points all season long. Rudy's on both sides of the DVP sheet, the season long and last 2 weeks. So I think that he's the guy that kind of stands out for me. Always fine with like Randall and Naz Reid. And then I think that Bones he's not in play. There was a lot of positive coach speak from Chris Finch after the game against Golden State. And there's a chance that Mike Conley's just a DMP tonight and Bones gets all those backup point guard and shooting guard minutes tonight. So I think that they like him a lot. They want him to be more aggressive. So I wouldn't be opposed to getting onto him at least for some late swap, just kind of emergency stuff.
Yeah. That's also where like the game tomorrow could benefit because I'm with you. Like, especially the first game of back-to-back, I'm not concerned about it as much as the second game because you know what happened in the first game for the second game. And you expect in the first game, in a close game, they're going to give it their all and Ant's going to play full minutes. But if the game does get a little lopsided, I think they're more apt to pull their guys sooner, which would make someone like Bones stand out. Gobert or Jared Allen here?
Yeah, that was kind of the 1v1 that was on my mind when I saw the Gobert play. I feel like it's got to be Jared Allen just because you know that he's going to get the production. Like he has much less to compete with than Rudy Gobert does. But I do like the matchup a little bit better for Rudy. I would say that it might be better for Jared Allen now with how bad Aiden's been. But yeah, what do you think?
I think it's really close. I think ownership is going to be pretty close. I think Allen will be higher owned, but I think Gobert will be owned, especially coming off a really good game. I don't have like a strong lean. I think that you can really make the case for either of them. And at the end of the day, I think they look really similar and project pretty damn similarly as well.
Yeah. All right, before we jump into the last two games, I want to take some time to ask you guys to kindly hit the like button. Got over 350 you guys watching right now. If any of you are not a member and you want to become a member, you can see at the top of the screen here, we got the code SHIP19, 5 days for 19. Trying to do a better job in that because Matt took over for that last week, doing a little housekeeping. But yeah, I want to shout that out there. All right. Second to last game, let's say we got my Utah Jazz welcoming the Golden State Warriors back-to-back for Utah, and injury report is fairly clean, at least from the last I've seen. I'm not sure if they've completely filed everything, but we know some guys are going to be out. Kevin Love is out, and Laurie is off the injury report. Keontae off the injury report. We do have a questionable tag on Nurkic and Cody Williams. Still waiting for them to report on those guys. For the Warriors, they are fully healthy, obviously, minus Jimmy Butler, Kuminga. Those guys will be out. Jimmy done for the season, obviously. Kuminga done for next few games. But Steph will be back. Draymond's back. Horford, D'Anthony Melton off the injury report. And then Gary Payton is probable. Obviously, anytime Utah is on the slate, you want to be looking at the opposing team. A little bit of a different situation for Golden State because we know that Steve Kerr loves to run an 11-man, sometimes even 12-man rotation. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. You're not getting 36 minutes from a stud like Stephen Curry, who's priced at $9K, and you're also probably not getting anybody into the mid-30s. So it makes it a little bit tougher. But all these guys are obviously really strong plays at these price tags in this good of a matchup. So I'll kick it over to you first. What are you prioritizing on the Warriors side? And then if you wanted to talk on the Jazz after that, then be my guest.
Yeah, man, so much ownership coming into the Warriors here. Like, I get it. Horford, 4,300. He's too cheap. Curry, even with like the lack of big time minutes, still probably too cheap at 9K. Draymond, 5,500. Probably a little bit too cheap. The main three guys, those are them right there. Then you start to get into like the D'Anthony Meltons of the world. He's also getting ownership. Like, on this big of a slate, I understand the ownership for all these guys. Like, I make sense each one individually, but I don't think there's any one guy here that I'm afraid to fade.
Yeah.
Al Horford looks like the best points per dollar guy here, but it's Al Horford, 4,300. It's not like he's free. So yeah, play him if you want, but I don't think you have to play him in tournaments. Feel the same about Curry at 9K. Certainly there's guys in his price range that can beat him. Draymond hasn't gotten there in weeks, even at this price point. So, yeah, I understand the ownership here, but, man, on this big of a slate, I kind of like the idea of getting away from it. There are tons of ways where this game just gets wonky and no one gets there. I certainly see the outcome as where everyone gets there, but ownership is already there in a big, big way here. So I really don't like that, especially with other games that I think are desirable. Now, a lot of the games we talked about, you don't love, but there were some diamonds in the rough there, and you might have to get a little bit comfortable with being uncomfortable fading some guys from this game. But I'm fine doing that because I don't want to be loading up on chalk Warriors here, given everything that we know, which is what you broke down. It's Steve Kerr. They're going to run a big rotation. No one here is going to play big minutes. They're probably going to go with the hot hand approach for a lot of these rotation guys. So it's flimsy chalk and it's big chalk. So in tournaments, especially like tonight, where we've got that 222, 3,000 person tournament instead of like a 777, 500 person tournament, I think you got to think a little bit more outside the box, which I'm willing to do. From the Utah side, they don't look as good as the Golden State side does, but Keontae is always going to be in play for me as a low-owned spend-up option. He's just been really, really freaking good this year. And then Nurkic. I like Nurkic if he plays. If he's out, I think the trickle-down effect, we see Philip Housekeeping come in play. But if Nurk is in, I think he is a really, really intriguing contrarian option at 7-8. And I think if you're playing someone like Nurk, I'm cool with playing more of the Golden State chalk because you're running it back with a really low-owned guy with upside.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to lead off with. 3 straight triple doubles for Nurkic, by the way. I think he might have like the most triple doubles in Jazz history now. If not, he's the only one that's done it 3 times in a row. I know that for sure. But I believe Pete Maravich has probably more than 3. But yeah, I agree with you there. I feel like if you're playing Nurk, if you're playing Keontae, if you're playing Laurie, you're betting on the game environment doing well. So it does make sense to pair them up. I would think that Steph is probably the easiest guy to click on because if you're getting full minutes from Steph, he's gonna smash. Like if you told me Steph was playing 34 minutes tonight in a close game, like I might project him for 55 to 60 points. Like I don't see a world where he doesn't go off in this matchup. But then the main guys that would play closer in a blowout would be like Pods, Draymond, Melton, and then you can get away from some of the other guys like Horford, I would think. But I agree with you. Like it's never comfortable playing the Warriors chalk. I feel like you can probably come into the slate with a little bit of rules to limit how much chalk you're getting, especially in that 222, like you said. The rules that I would say is like if one of Nurkic, Keontae, or Laurie, then at least one of, or maybe even 2 of like Steph, Pods, Draymond, Melton. And then for the Warriors groupings, you could say max 1 of Melton and Pods, max 1 of Draymond and Horford. I know that they'll probably start alongside of each other, but I feel like they're going to be competing for rebounds and assist stats together. So I would be max 1 of those 2 guys. And then I think that's probably it. Like I don't think you're going to really get too deep into the bench guys like Guy Santos, Post, or Buddy Hield, who I do think Buddy Hield is another guy that should be in play. Just a really good matchup for 3-point shooters. I'm not Xing him out, but yeah, I think this game definitely has upside. Obviously, highest over/under on the slate, but there are ways that the Warriors shot could go wrong.
Yeah, it's more like there's certainly a lot of risk in fading, guys from this game, but it's more just like the ownership is already there. And as we've talked about a bunch, me and you at least, like we've seen ownership, like the projections, especially like guys that are projected to be really popular, are only that much more popular in smaller field stuff.
Yeah.
And like even though it's the 222 has more people than like the whatever 555 or whatever, it's still a smaller field tournament, so it's still going to have much higher ownership on these guys. So that's the real reason to get away from it.
Yeah, people play it as if it's a lot smaller than it actually is too. So I would be
right.
You got to be okay leaning into a little bit of.
That's a great point.
Yeah. All right, last game on the slate: San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets. This is a rematch from a few days ago. I believe this team's played last week, or at least the week before that. But yeah, this is the lowest total on the slate. Makes sense. 2 defensive-minded teams, so it's not really that surprising. But there is obviously a lot of star power in here. You got Wemby, Castle, Fox on one side, Sengun, Durant, Amon Thompson. So there's definitely ways that we get some really high fantasy scores from these guys. Feels a little bit less likely in some of these other games, but ownership is going to be extremely low here. If you see nobody even getting double-digit ownership, Tari Eason, the only one near at 9%. I'm always interested in Wemby. It seems now like the minutes limit for him is starting to come off. Obviously had an awful game against the Rockets last time they faced. They had a really good game plan for him. We're putting some smaller guys on him. He went 5 for 21 from the field. But it's Wemby. Like, he's matchup proof. I feel like they'll obviously try to get him more involved early and change up the matchup for him a little bit. So I feel like he's the best option probably in this game, if not on the Spurs side itself. So I like him the most. But I'm okay with Castle. I think I like Castle more than Fox here. Should see a weaker defender. Amon Thompson will be on De'Aaron Fox, so it's going to be Jabari Smith on Castle, who's obviously not bad, but Castle can fill the stat sheet. Houston rim defense has been a lot worse. He just was really inefficient scoring the ball last game against the Rockets. So I like him as the second option. That's probably where I cut it off, though. Last time I talked about, I believe it might have been last Wednesday, we talked about or at least I had talked about Champagnie being a bad play at his ownership, and he went for 8 threes or whatever it was against a team that doesn't give up any threes. Yeah, any thoughts on the Spurs side?
No, it was actually last Tuesday, and then we chuckled about it before the show last Wednesday because I remember I happened to catch it like the show right at that moment, and I was like, God, like what are the odds that this dude it's like 10 threes in the worst matchup possible? But of course, I don't love this game from a fantasy perspective. What does stand out is what you mentioned, a lot of star power here. So like Wemby always going to be in play, especially with the minutes ticking up. Like he's not going to be owned also, which is intriguing. I think that on this particular slate, like he's not going to be a priority for me, but I understand why anyone would want to prioritize him, especially at low ownership. I like Sengun on the other side. Boom bust spot for him. He's coming off a really good game here. I just love the price tag and the positionality he has with still being power forward eligible. He's had some spike games in this spot too. Obviously, they've played a bunch and he's got some performances that you wouldn't want at this price tag, but he's also got a couple that could win you a slate. So he's also kind of matchup proof because he's his own entity. Sengun is going to be a guy I like on every slate. He's going to get no ownership, and that's going to be the case tonight. And then I wanted to ask you about Reed Shepherd. I was high on him last slate. I didn't end up seeing what happened. Any idea why he only played 15 minutes? Obviously, far from the norm from what he had been playing.
It just seemed like he was shooting the ball terribly and not doing enough on defense. So it's kind of, if you're shooting bad
That's
and you're
you get
also
with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's 0 for 7 from 3, 2 for 11 from the field. Like he was getting clean looks. So I was watching that game, but it just they seemed like they wanted to go. I think it was even who was seeing minutes? Oh, Kogi, I believe, closed over him and Tari Eason. I think even who else was mixing in there? Jayshawn Tate, I believe, mixed in for a little bit. So yeah, it was just kind of a bad run out for Reed Shepherd. But he was kind of the hero in the game the last time these teams faced off. So obviously it's a high variance guy like Reed Shepherd. You probably could keep him in your player pool, but he's getting a little bit of ownership too. So I'm kind of
he's someone I would love at like no ownership, but at ownership, I have no interest. There's so much downside there. We just saw it, and like he's not free either. So I think there's certainly upside there. And again, if he falls through the cracks and he ends up being like 2 or 3% owned, then I'll definitely want some of him. We just won't know that before the slate.
Yep. I agree with you on Sengun, though. He's probably the top option on Houston. Like you said, these teams have faced off a ton in the same division or conference, I believe. I don't know if that's true. I don't think conferences really even matter, but he's averaging 50 or went over 50 DK points twice against the Spurs this season, averaging just under 47 against Wemby. But he does have like an 80-plus point performance against Wemby in his game log, so definitely upside still there. This could easily be a game that stays really close and is surprisingly high scoring, but I think the more likely outcome is that it is lower scoring. But I don't mind KD or Tari either. Matchups are going to be a little bit better for those guys than it will be for Sengun. Obviously, Wemby going to be on Sengun. KD probably seeing Harrison Barnes and Keldon Johnson. And then Tari, like it could be De'Aaron Fox on him. I just don't know who they're going to start with if Tari is in the starting lineup. Like I don't think they're definitely not putting Stephon Castle on him. Maybe Champagnie. I feel like Champagnie probably makes more sense on Jabari Smith. So it's probably going to be De'Aaron Fox on Tari Eason. I feel like that's a pretty good matchup considering Tari's is going to be crashing the basket. So I think that he's pretty solid.
Yeah, I like that call. I think that's a good, because he's not going to get ownership either. And one other thing I wanted to call out about Sengun here, especially, I think Sengun gives you a good out from Curry here. Like, if you, your lineup, just, you've got guys that have snowflakes or whatever, you have Curry at the utility, make sure you have another couple hundred, because Curry's going to be really popular. And if you get off him for Sengun and Curry happens to bust, that could be enough to get you cashing. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you a little bit of an out at the same price point.
Yep. Good shout there. Definitely a game you could get into. Don't need to force it, but there's obviously a lot of star power in this one for sure. All right, that is all 9 games. Got 400 of you watching now, so I'll just ask you kindly one more time, please hit the like button. Helps us out a ton so we can continue doing these free shows for you guys every single week. Matt, any closing thoughts here? Great show as always. Love doing this stuff with you, but yeah, any closing thoughts before this big slate?
No closing thoughts, but wanted to ask you favorite low owned play on the slate, because there's a lot of them tonight.
Yeah, definitely. hadn't had enough time to think about it, but
Yeah, my bad to put you on the spot like that.
no, it's all good. If you got a guy, then please do the honors.
Yeah, I got two guys that I'm happy you asked. Two guys, we talked about them earlier. I like the run back here, Towns and Quickly.
Yeah, you're going to get really low ownership on that pairing. I think Quickly is not even projected for a single percentage right now, and then Cat only going to be 4%. Usually been coming in really low on these slates. I like that call. Yeah, I think for me, it's. I mean, I don't know if Brandon Miller does come in at this price or at this ownership 13%. I feel like it could be lower,
Same.
but I like him a lot. I think that this is a really, really good matchup for him. So he's kind of the guy that I'm honing in on. But I also think Nurkic, if he plays, like just ride the hot hand if he's going to be low owned.
Yeah, I love the Nurk call. I love the Nurk call, and that Charlotte Memphis game, I think, is my favorite like low owned game stack or game of the night.
Yeah. Any bets? I don't know what Steph Curry's 3-point line is, but that'd be one I'd be laddering all the way up to 8 probably. I think that's the only one that really stood out for me. He's averaging 6 made threes against the Jazz this season, and that was a game where he barely played like 30 minutes in each. So if we get a random game where the Jazz keep it close, 34 minutes, like Steph could go for 10 plus.
Oh yeah,
all
easily.
Right. That's gonna do it. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. We're able to get this done in ample time, just over an hour. But yeah, we'll see you guys. I'll be back tomorrow with Title. Matt back on Friday with Ham. Good luck tonight, everyone. We'll catch you later.